So cool, man. So good to have you, James. We have Kier and Miriam with us. We can kind of go ladies first. I'll just set the stage just a little bit. So as you guys might know, over the past few months, we have been inviting sales and marketing leaders like James to join us. And we get on these video sessions and we help you guys get the job of your dreams. Part of the way that we do that is we look for best practices that James is using from sales and marketing, and we find out how we might be able to apply that to your job hunt. Miriam, I know that you are looking for your next role. You mentioned that you're not doing a lot of posting on LinkedIn, but you do want to work on that a bit. Why don't you just bring us up to speed quickly on where you're at, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, first of all, hi everybody. Well, I'm saying hello all the way from Cape Town, South Africa. So I might be the farthest away person. Yeah, so I was working in-house as an engagement and marketing director, and I specialized in peer-to-peer fundraising events. And then I moved, and then COVID happened, and now it's a new ball game. So what I've been doing in the interim is I am doing consulting, and it's actually picked up. Like, people don't want to hire somebody full time, but they're really excited about hiring somebody to help them through the next 6 to 8 months and like deal with all of their events and things that were happening. So that's the newest thing for me. And I think where I'm struggling the most is I'm trying to pivot my personal brand as quickly as the things keep changing. So 2 months ago when or like a month and a half ago when I first got involved with I'd Hire Me, I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And then I had this big hole in my LinkedIn profile. And I'm like, I don't want to write that I wasn't employed, even if I could just write COVID and everybody would understand. Yeah. So I had a little bit of work coming in here and there. And I'm like, you know what, if I'm having bits and drabs of work, then like, I'm a consultant. I'm not unemployed. I can find more consulting gigs. So I did that. And the second I was able to like write that narrative, yes, I had something to say. And then now I have a client and I might land another one, and then I'll be cool until probably March. But now I need to like flesh that out, and I'm learning and working at the same time. So I think that's my biggest challenge right now, is being confident and knowing what the heck I'm saying and learning narrative as I'm going along. So yeah.
All right.
Take the lead.
First of all, you're at a point right now where a lot of people are. If you might have noticed in 2020 that many sales leaders, VPs, business development directors, lots of titles have been going from whatever it was they were doing to being a consultant, right? To being an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, right? And this is because they're adjusting to the market, and the market has hit them. And it hits them in lots of different ways, but here's the choice. At some point in everybody's career and life, they have to ask themselves one question: am I worth more to myself than just being someone else's output?
Right.
Now think about that statement for a moment, because you're at a point where you have to make a decision. You're either going to go all in, build your personal brand, develop a process and structure that sets meetings for you about short-term or long-term build packages that you can put in front of people and say, here are your options and my expertise and what that cost is. Or you can go find a job.
Right. Yep.
That's where you are. Accept it, own it, and then decide based on what you think is best for you, Miriam, because nobody's going to be able to tell you which move to make in this moment. Lots of people are successful consultants for a year, 2 years, waiting for that right opportunity, for that client that says, hey, what do you think about coming on board full time? Starting a consultancy is a great way to find where you want to spend the rest of your life working.
Right.
Because you're not emotionally tied to that or financially tied to that directly until you make that decision.
Yeah.
That's my first thought. My second thought, any comments on that before I touch your personal brand?
It's so true. And it's weird because I'm doing a lot of the stuff I've always done. I might be learning in a different way and needing to be able to teach it as opposed to just be the person who's expected to do it. And I'm so much more excited about the work because it's like I'm working with you. And if this doesn't work, bye. Like, I don't have to hate my boss, and I don't, but I also recognize I've been an entrepreneur before, like actually, and it's tough. So
It's hard.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I think I'm prepared to sit in this for the next 6 months to feel it out and learn. And I recognize that I don't need to make that decision right now. I just need to come off as professional as I possibly can be. And I guess my one last question is, how do you do that without looking like a flake if in 6, 8, 12 months from now, I'm like, this is great, but I really love the idea of a remote first job where I have benefits and paid time off and I don't have to be scared anymore.
Okay. First of all, let me tackle the personal brand first, because that was the second part of your original comment.
Cool.
On the personal brand front, content is the road to connection. That connection leads to conversation.
Mm-hmm.
In that conversation, we have the chance to build a relationship. Some people call this trust. Once we have that, we should have no problems uncovering or straight up asking for opportunities. The law of averages says the more opportunities you have, the more sales you make.
Right.
If that's true, and that's a very human sales cycle, proprietary, don't steal it, it's in my training, right? If that's true, then you taking a break from LinkedIn is not helping you. Right? Instead, I think this is about your journey, and that's part of your personal brand. Coca Sexton is a great example of somebody that got fired, branched off and started a consultancy, used the hashtag hire Coca, and eventually was offered 3 great jobs 3 different years back to back. And they have been stellar years for him. This guy is amazing. He's everywhere. It's impossible to miss him. And at any moment, he could step off that ledge and do it again. Mm-hmm. And so can you. So don't marry the long-term goal right now. Yeah. Marry the short-term goal of finding what's best for you, and then decide on a long-term goal based on that smaller, more attainable, more closer to the time period we're in now decision. Because at any moment you could step off and do the entrepreneurial thing anytime you want. You don't need anyone but you. You know all the jobs, right? Which just makes you that much more powerful of a consultant. To your point about not coming off the wrong way, that doesn't matter. I know that sounds crazy. You're like, why doesn't that matter? Oh my God, perception is everything. No, it's not. The most common conception in success, when we define success, the most common misconception we have is that everyone views it the same way. That is not true. Success is relative. Depends on the veil of ignorance that we all live behind. What that means, it's a philosophical term. If you've never heard it, it means we make all of our decisions based on the things that we've experienced in our past. That means your knowledge is what is valuable to these organizations, the one that you decide to stick with, the consultancy clients that you land. It's your experience and knowledge that's valuable to them. And you need to not give 2 red shits what anybody out there thinks about your success, the way you define it, the way your clients feel about working with you. All of that is the main focus. The haters means you're doing something right. All right. That's a good 10 minutes right there. I love you long time. Fantastic.
I love that. I love that question. Miriam, did you have any other questions before we move into Pierre in terms of like any challenges you're having with the consulting? You mentioned a little bit about personal brand, LinkedIn, things like that.
I think it's just like getting the language right. And I recognize that that's going to be fluid because I'm learning as I go along. So I'm happy to hand it over to Kier, and if it's just the 3 of us, we'll probably have more time to circle back. So
sounds good. Awesome.
Circle of life.
Cool.
You're very giving. That's fantastic of you.
So Kier, we've been working together for a while. You just got hired, so congratulations.
Hack EDU, right?
Hack EDU, yes.
Yeah, my friend Brianna from Revgenius just got hired on there. You might know her.
Yeah, we actually just got introduced through LinkedIn. So her and I, we both start next week. Looking forward to it.
That's my girl. I helped coach her through that whole process.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, she's amazing, really good at what she does. So it's nice.
That's good
meeting
to know.
you.
Yeah, her and I are going to be working very close together.
Yeah, she's awesome. She has me on speed dial.
Small world, small world. Yeah.
It's getting smaller, brother. I'll tell you that. Yeah. So what can I do for you, man? What's on your mind? Let's make it happen.
So my current situation, like I got through the whole trying to find a job. Thankfully, it was
Congratulations.
very brutal trying to find a job in the pandemic. So here we are. My background is a little non-traditional. I was managing juice bars, went to manage a fitness studio at SoulCycle. Then I was an account executive, and it was B2C. So now I'm making that transition to B2B as an SDR. And I did no prospecting. All the leads were warm leads. They were dumped into my sales floor. Oh, yeah. So this was at Flatiron School, the coding boot camp.
Okay.
But yeah, so at SoulCycle, I was a studio manager. And then after SoulCycle, I went to Flatiron School, the coding boot camp.
And they were just providing leads to you all the time,
Yeah, so
right?
all the leads were just provided to me. I would make phone calls and try to get people to apply. If they applied, they would be an opportunity. So it was a lot of work, but I didn't prospect. So now here I am. I'm going to be prospecting for the first time. And as you know, Hack EDU is very small. So I'm probably going to be creating a lot of the processes. Like the goal is for me to onboard, ramp up, and then eventually run the team. So I have to like create a lot on my own.
Same goal as Brianna.
Yeah. Create a lot on my own. And so I just like
looking for a little direction on that.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Okay.
going in the first 30 days as an SDR, what you know about like the challenges of a new SDR and things like that.
Yeah. All right. So first of all, take a deep breath. I feel your tension. It's not that serious. No one's curing cancer, right? Second, this is about trial and error. Your job as a sales professional is to constantly improve your process. That's the focus. You've never prospected before. I see a lot of medals behind you. Can you tell me a little bit about those?
Yeah, I was.
Before you tell me about them, can you just talk to me about how you feel right now to be super excited to tell me about them?
No, I feel great.
Welcome to Prospecting 101.
Yeah, so I was a track and field athlete for years, and some of the medals are like national championships and ACC championship medals.
Okay, that same mentality, that consistency, that practice, that rehearsal, those runs, that track meet, everything that you struggled with to get to the point where those medals were handed to you, this is exactly the same. The more you do it, the more you refine yourself, the more you change, the more progress you will see. Prospecting is exactly the same process. So you've done this before. That's the point of me telling you that. Don't be intimidated just because now it's not just about you. It's about you and someone else and the relationship they have with you. I saw your excitement when I said, I see a lot of medals. Can you tell me about that? You were like, oh, shit, yeah, man, I definitely tell you about that. Like, that's what I'm hearing. I'm seeing it in your face. When you prospect, that is all you're doing, right? If I connected with you and I was like, I saw that award you guys won. I really want to get the backstory there. You had to have a huge team support to be able to get to that goal. Can you tell me a little bit about that? A lot of people are more than willing to talk about it. But here's what the training you get internally is going to give you. Hi, my name is, and I'm with, and we do, and we're the leading provider of, and what I'd really like to do is get some time with you to talk more about how you blah, blah, no one cares. Mm-hmm. Right? What's important is that you're focused on the value you can deliver to your clients, your prospects, and the job is not to sell. Oh my God, what did you just say? Yes, that's right. Prospecting is not about selling. Prospecting is about earning more time to sell. So recognize that that's the goal of every single connection you make, contact point, touch point. Think omni approach, right? Mm-hmm. You are at a point right now where you can start building a personal brand and creating content about the journey that you're about to take. What's it like for Pierre to come in with retail experience, juice bar experience, and become a sales development representative, an account executive, a VP of sales, follow that entire journey from start to finish, document it well, share it. What's working? What's not? What lesson did you learn today? What did you try that was new that landed you a meeting? And what did you try that landed with an F off, I'm never going to buy anything from you, you suck at your job? Those types of pieces of content that you put out there are what resonates with this heartbeat of a sales community that exists in and all around us. Anyone that engages, comments, likes, shares, they're connected. I don't know if you're familiar, there's a Hindu principle called the net of Indra. You ever heard of this?
No, not this.
Okay, so the net of Indra essentially says that no matter what happens, we're all living on the same net, the same web. When you change something, somebody else somewhere feels it. Let me ask you this question. Coming into this session, did you guys think that you would feel the emotional attachment you do to this conversation right now? Because you've never, because you've never had one like it before, right? That's the point of everything that we do in this world. It's bigger than the sale. It's bigger than the person. It's bigger than the company. It's the connection that we all feel to provide value for one another. That's the focus of prospecting. Not, we're number one provider of, customers tell us that we do the following. I'm following up, I'm touching base, I'm checking in. Garbage, right? People run away screaming from that because everybody likes to buy stuff, but nobody likes to be sold stuff. All right, I threw a lot at you right there.
Got it.
What else you guys got? I could do this forever. You have no idea.
Man, I could listen forever. That was awesome.
Yeah. That's why I was like, I knew I was going to have this connection coming into the conversation, right? Because I've heard James before.
This is what I do every day, guys. Yeah. My whole life revolves around how I can impact others. I look for this phrase, and you should look for this phrase too. Every time you talk to somebody, think about the phrase, man, I've never looked at it that way. Because that is what I'm going for on every single call. And once you have somebody feeling that way, look at Kier right now. He's like lean. He's like this.
Yeah, he's thinking. He knows.
Deep involved. My body language, my tonality, my personality floods through on that screen, and you're drawn to the conversation. This is the mentality that you need to have your sellers to have. Oh my God, what is this guy going to say next? This dude is changing my world right now.
So Kier, you can kind of jump in if you had different questions, or maybe tell us a bit more about the target that you're going after, right? I do think that some CIOs and IT folks are on LinkedIn. A lot of them are not. They do hang out other places. I guess, Kier, how are you thinking about approaching that? Have you talked about that with HappyView? And James, I'm sure you have some experience selling in or helping others sell into those types of people.
Yeah, so from what I've gathered, the ICP, it can vary. It can be someone who's running a team of software developers. If it's a larger company, it could be like the chief technology officer. So that's the thing. Like, I don't know the exact profile we're going after, but like you said, I do know a lot of them aren't really involved on LinkedIn. So the strategy.
When you say involved, what do you mean? You mean they don't create content?
They don't create content. They're not that active.
Okay.
Like, I feel salespeople, marketers are really active on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
People in like programming stuff, not so much.
Marketing,
like,
right.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to stop you right here. Just because somebody does not actively create content on LinkedIn doesn't mean the touch doesn't matter. We know research tells us 16 to 20 touches to generate a meaningful conversation with somebody. Meaningful. Not, hey, screw off, unsubscribe, not interested. Those are all soft no's, which essentially translate to, this is not a priority for me right now. They have a job. That job is to improve. That job is to find ways to do it better. Constantly, Kaizen, right? Constant improvement. That's the job for every job. Doesn't matter what you do. If they're not active on LinkedIn, that's okay. I promise they log in there. If they don't, their company requires them to have it, and there's really no point in it. But LinkedIn is not the only place that you're going to connect with these people. Follow them on Instagram. Send them a friend request on Facebook. Follow them on Twitter. Engage with their content. Send videos. Call them, leave messages, talk to their gatekeepers, send pizza. The point is that you're everywhere and you're not going anywhere. I once sent 45 emails on 45 Wednesdays to a guy, and he responded and said, "Are you ever going to go away?" And I wrote back, "Not now." And he laughed and said, "Let's talk on Wednesday." And we had a great conversation. He wasn't qualified, but I earned the right to find that out. And to your point about tech people not being on LinkedIn, let me tell you something. I spent all of 2019 working in data governance. It doesn't get much more tech than that. Those people are all over LinkedIn. They're just much more choosy about who they engage with. And it takes you a lot of credibility to earn those conversations, because those people know what the F they're doing. And they're not about wasting their time, because they have very little. And they guard their personal time really well, which is something salespeople are very willing to give up. Think about the difference in that mentality. A lot of people will ask me, should I be sending videos on a Saturday? Should I be sending emails on a Saturday? No, those people are not going to appreciate that. That notification on their phone that says you just got an email from Hytham on Saturday at 2 p.m. while they're at their family picnic is like, what the F? Delete. I'm swiping left on that. Right? But if it's Monday at 3 in the afternoon and that tech person needs to get away from their computer for a minute because they've been looking at Python for the last 3 hours, you better believe that quick phone call that says, "Hey, what's up, George? Thanks for taking that call. Do you have a few minutes before your next meeting?" He's like, "Yeah, who's this?" And now you've earned the right to tell them who you are. Instead of being like, "Hi, George, this is so-and-so, and I'm with this company you've never heard of, and we do the following, and let me vomit all over you for 3 minutes, and then I'm going to ask you what I can count on you for, even though you have no emotional attachment to me at all." This is the basis of outreach today. Anything outside of that garbage realm is going to be a pattern interrupt that you get a response from. And tech people like to step away for a moment. But you got to give them a good reason too. You have to pique that curiosity quickly. All right, that was a lot too. I'm sorry, I go off on these tangents. I get really passionate about it. I'm sorry.
Nothing wrong with that. I'm all for it.
It's hard, I know.
Another challenge I've been thinking of, do you work remote? Or do you have any tips for working remotely? Because this job is fully remote. It's my first one.
Yeah. Oh, dude. So first of all, welcome to the Thunderdome, right? Congratulations on setting a bar for your life. Welcome to getting your life back, because commuting is no longer a thing. Yes. Yes.
All
yes. So I want to say to you that being remote has advantages and drawbacks. Somebody's going to say to you, "Oh, you work at home." No, you don't. You live at work. Feel the difference? 9 to 5 just became a figment of your imagination. Do not manage your time that way. That will not help you. That will only hurt you. Because a lot of people are going to want to connect with you from all over the world. They're going to be on different time zones. You're going to have to get up early. Let me give you a piece of advice. I get up at 5 a.m. And I spend my first couple hours talking to people in other countries that otherwise wouldn't be able to get my time. Because of that, I have a higher return rate. Because of that, I'm able to connect with people all over the globe simply by making myself available to them at the end of their day and at the beginning of mine. It also adds hours of productivity to my day. I don't work a 12-hour day. I work when my customers need me to work, and what I have to sacrifice is what weighs on whether or not I'm going to give them that time. Save what you can. Calendar everything. If it exists in your world and will take 15 minutes, it should be on your calendar. Color code that bitch so that you can't lose track of what means what and where your brain needs to be by this time in the afternoon. The way you structure your day and execute it. You know what? I'm just going to share my screen. Y'all, if you're busier than me, shout it out. This is my day. This is my week. I even have dinner with my stepson right here for tonight. Right?
Yeah.
Salesforce
All
tasks,
color-coded,
clips from Richard Harris.
working.
Right? Happy hours. This is my day right here. I don't do shit on this day. Nothing. I don't talk to people. Nobody talks to me. I don't take calls. That's my time. Right? I earn that because I do all this other stuff and no minute is wasted in my day. right? Let's look at next week. This is stuff that hasn't even happened yet, guys. I'm not even there yet. That's next week. Anything green is money, right? Structure your day. Make sure that you own your time, because if you don't, someone else will. Whether it's a prospect or somebody that you think that thinks you have to report to them, completely irrelevant, but someone will. And you don't want to ever feel like you're not in control of your own destiny. God, I go off on these rants. I'm sorry.
Are you doing some of that, Kier? I mean, I would imagine, and it sounds like Miriam, you're probably doing some of that too, but I would imagine that you guys are doing some form of that. Is it that specific?
Oh yeah, I have a very detailed calendar. I use GCal, an agenda, and this bullet journal because I'm also in school part-time. So I wouldn't be able to do everything if I didn't
What are you doing in school?
Organized.
What are you doing in school?
I'm finishing my undergrad at Columbia School of General Studies, studying philosophy and Africana studies.
That's great content. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I use an app called Harvest, which I started using to keep track of the hours that I'm doing because the job that I have now is per hour. And I use my Google Calendar as well. I am obsessed with this app. It's so interesting because it's so easy to just hit a timer, start and stop. I got the idea from all of my lawyer friends who are billing on 6 minutes a time. It's really eye-opening to see how much time you're using. And it's also really helped me because I have worked in the past where I'll work on a per hour basis, and then I've gone way over, and then I've undervalued myself. So I'm using this as a way to learn, like, actually how long does it, and anything, if I open a tab because I'm doing 5 minutes of research, it goes on there. And it's helped. It's actually really helped me manage my time, and it's been very eye-opening. And I actually just sent it off to my client who's being paid like a salaried wage, and I've said, you need to start keeping your own time. And she said, why? I'm a full-time employee. I said, right. And in a year from now, when you want to ask for more help or you want to ask for a raise, you're going to be able to prove to them that you're not working 40 hours a week, you're working 60, and here's why. And you have it, it's all timed, it's all managed, and it's all documented. It's awesome.
What else helps for me is the reminders, the things that come back to you over and over again. You can go back 2 weeks and be like, who was that person I talked to? Having stuff on your calendar. Like, even if I had the conversation, but it wasn't on my calendar, I'm putting it on my calendar retrospectively, right? Like retroactively. I'm going back and I'm being like, no, I spent 30 minutes with this person, right? Because I'm going to go back and add that person to a list. They're going to get reached out in context. I do not let prospects go until they tell me, F off. I'm not interested. Stop talking to me forever. You have to say that to me for me to remove you from reaching out to you and providing value. And keep in mind, I'm not reaching out and I'm not asking for time. I'm not promoting myself. I'm not talking about me. I'm providing value. I use that label very specifically because every single rep everywhere is going to end their emails with, when can we find time? Can I have 30 minutes? Can I have 15 minutes? Don't be that rep. And suddenly they want to talk to you. It's remarkable.
And kind of like sort of on that point, that's kind of a question that I had from earlier too. In, selling to tech, really selling to anyone, you mentioned providing value, getting them excited. They want to learn how to improve. Are there specific strategies that you would use with someone who's in tech versus someone who's in sales or marketing when you're doing your outreach?
Yeah, definitely. So right away, I can tell you that one of your best advantages is actually taking 5 minutes and reading their job description, reading their history. What kind of languages do these people speak? Python, back-end coding, lots of different options there. AWS, are they certified? Can you talk their language? If you can't, you need to be able to, right? Because when you call them and you start talking to them, you can't be that person that they're like, yeah, I got 5 minutes. What do you got for me? And you're like, but garbage. I have nothing because I wasn't ready for you to say yes to me and I don't have the knowledge, right? Get the knowledge, be able to talk their language, understand what people like that care about. That's all Googleable information. Like, we live with these things in our pockets. They do more than Snapchat our friends, I promise. Like, they do a lot of things, right? So go on YouTube and you can literally put in YouTube, top 5 things Amazon Web Services cares about. And then you can attach your messaging to those 5 things because they're commonly known. When was that video made? Is it relevant? Is it recent? Is it timely? Can I use it in messaging? Probably, right? Do the research, know the language, read about the things these people care about. They put it out there. They put it out there for everybody. Unless you find the person that copies and pastes stuff from the company site and puts it on their LinkedIn. Those are not people that average engagement on LinkedIn is high, right? You're not going to, those people, you're not going to hit them on LinkedIn. You're going to hit them in their inbox and on their phone, which brings me to demographics, right? Like, know that anyone over 60 is predominantly going to be found on LinkedIn. Between 45 and 60, LinkedIn and Facebook are going to be where they spend their time, right? But Facebook is going to be super personal. You don't want no 55-year-old man seeing your friend request on Facebook and then reaching out to them about business on LinkedIn. That's not happening. That's like, hey, stop stalking me, right? But your 30-year-old business development VP, you can follow that guy on Instagram. You can hit him on Twitter. He's the guy that's out there putting stuff out. He understands the value of that. Those are two very different kinds of conversation, right? Most people think, what's your script, right? It's one thing to have a script. It's a totally different thing to sound scripted. If you know that this person is of an older generation, they probably hold more to traditional sales practices. So you need to represent yourself as such. If you find this person on LinkedIn and they create content and they're super goofy like me, right? They don't take themselves too seriously. I got a lot of jokes, y'all. I'd say some crazy shit. Saywhatsales, that's the name of my brand because I say inappropriate things to people all the time. Right? Like that's part of who I am. And people know that. They expect that from me. When they connect with me, they want that fire, that energy. So I give it to them. But George Hackensack, a 65-year-old CEO that has 8,000 people underneath him, that guy's time is way too valuable to be wasted on somebody joking. So when I call him, I say, Mr. Hackensack, hello. Thanks for taking the call. Do you have a moment before your next meeting, sir? Right? And that's a completely different demeanor than the person I'm talking to on this call. Know your prospect, know the generation that they were raised in so that you can give them, you can talk to them the way they like to be spoken to. Ever heard of a disc profile? Crystal Knows is a great product. You can go on LinkedIn, you get 10 free lookups. Crystal Knows is the name of this. You click it and it'll give you a breakdown of how this person likes to be spoken to. It'll tell you what kind of questions to ask them. Are they more science or more art focused? Do they have good vocabulary? When you ask questions, do they need to be drawn out or do they need to be short? Disc profiles, check them out. They're pretty helpful.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's a really great point, especially with looking at the kind of tone. And Kier, that's something that you'll want to kind of take into account depending on who you're reaching out to, because there's a bit of both. Have you gotten a sense from them about how much structure and framework they already have in place? Because you mentioned that it's a small team. You're going to be building a lot of that as you go. Do you feel like you'll have the freedom to run a lot of these types of experiments? Or I guess if you don't, how can we get management up to speed to help you, to allow you to run some of these experiments?
So based off of the conversation I had during the interview process, I definitely will be able to experiment. I feel like I'll learn a lot in the beginning and then kind of go off on my own. And the process that I come up with will be my process, learning through trial and error. And there's a lot of flexibility for experimentation. That was something that I definitely knew I wanted. I didn't want to not have flexibility with the way that I conduct the prospecting and stuff like that. Because I wanted to experiment and grow and learn my own way to do it. So yeah, that definitely will be something that I'll be able to do is experiment.
If I could provide some feedback on that, structure and process and documentation are going to be the things you struggle with the most when you're designing this, because here's what happens. Typically we're like, okay, I have all these ideas. I'm going to try them all at once and then I'm going to measure everything. And what happens is we try them all at once and then we never measure a damn thing because we're so busy fielding all the stuff that's coming back from it, whether it's good or bad. And then we look back at it and we go, what worked? And the answer inevitably is, I have no idea. It's going to take me some time to go back and see. And then you have to collect the data. Ugh, it's a nightmare. So here's some good food for thought. Tier out the accounts. Okay. Tier ones, these are your diamond accounts. Again, this is all proprietary. It's all in my training. You guys will get an offer for 30% off of all this training for yourself.
For sure.
Yeah. So just so you know, I'm dropping all this stuff, but you're going to have the whole process and structure for yourself, and you'll save a 30% on the total cost after this. But if you tier these out and you're looking at your ideal customer profiles, there's a variable, there's a factor there, whatever it might be, number of employees, annual recurring revenue, whatever the numeric value that you have to identify which tier they belong in. Diamond accounts are your best accounts, the ones you stand the biggest chance of getting that are the largest return, right? Tier twos, sorry about the banging. Tier twos, do you hear it? I'm sorry. It's so awful. Yeah. Your tier twos are like mid-level market, right? Like if I get these, I really want to get these. If I don't get them, it kind of sucks, but I'm learning, right? Your tier threes, these are the ones you try your new stuff out on. These are the ones that if you don't get it, it's no sweat off your back, right? Because it's a small account. But if stuff works consistently with a tier three, I can move them to the tier twos. And then I can see bigger returns from this thing that worked in the tier threes. And if it works in the tier twos, guess what? Now you've got a systematic, data-driven process in your tier ones that you can leverage that's going to yield results. But if you don't go through a structured process that yields this result, basically you're throwing darts in the dark, bro. And that is not helpful when you're building a process that you can train other people how to do. To your point earlier, the end goal is running the department. If you think that those people are going to come work underneath you and you can't deliver a structured process to them, you will fail.
Yeah, I said definitely.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I took with me when I was managing part-time employees. If you can't do it, they're going to be like, well, why are you telling me to do it? Or why are you asking me to do it? Why are you instructing me to do something you can't do or don't even do with us or can't demonstrate that you're capable of doing? So that's one of the things
you saw me share my screen.
Yeah.
I share my screen. I tell you to label everything. I tell you to put it on your calendar. If I couldn't show you my screen right there and show you that I do this, I wouldn't tell you to do it. Practicing what you preach is huge. Earlier, you mentioned that you have some juice bar management, all the retail stuff experience that you have. Your ability to impact somebody's life in a small window of time, that's what you learned from that you can leverage in this job. I have been a fast food employee. I've been a cook. I've been a chef for 15 years. I've done all the food jobs, okay? When you look at me, do you see someone that doesn't like food, right? Yeah, it's all there, So when you think about it, I've had tacos remade and then thrown in my face at Taco Bell. I've had people send back food and throw it at me from across the food line. But my ability to let that shit go, do my job, make it fun, not care about what other people think, just do the thing that's valuable for others, that ability is what landed me where I'm at today. Transitioned me from, food guy, restaurant service to business development director at Cirrus Insight, and then brand ambassador at Ringlead, hosting a podcast for mental health with Uncrushed. Like, dude, limitless. Just tap into those skills that you developed subconsciously and you don't even know are there until you're going to need them. And you'll find that it becomes easier and easier.
Yeah, that was one of the things I found challenging during my interview process because I know I had that. Like, I was a studio manager at SoulCycle getting yelled at by people on a day-to-day basis. Like, the people that ride at SoulCycle are very demanding. These are like your CEOs, your VPs in the financial district, they're like the big banks, and they're coming to me. And I got to know them on a personal level, but I still had those challenges. And subconsciously, I know there's something there. And so when I got in that account executive role at Flatiron School, like getting told no, getting hugged up on, having conversations, it was so easy. It came second nature because I had been doing that throughout my career. And it's subconscious at this point. And it was hard for me to explain like what I have over someone else because like, hey, I developed something, and what you just described, that's what it was. Like getting shoes thrown at you, getting yelled at, all kinds of stuff, attitude every day. Like I got used to it and just brush it off, keep working. And I learned how to lead people through all that because I didn't take the brunt of it all the time as my employees. And I had to like step in and lead them through those situations. So
yeah, man. Look, the skill sets are all there. When you have an opportunity to leverage it, subconsciously, your brain chemistry will go, oh, I can deal with this. And then you'll throw it out there like, no problem. After you're done, you're going to hang up that phone or close that Zoom meeting out, and you're going to go, damn, I rocked that. You're not going to know why. Now you'll know why. Miriam, we have neglected you.
I don't feel neglected. I'm listening.
I'm smiling because so much of what you're describing is stuff that I'm experiencing for the first time now. I'm helping a grassroots organization go from fully volunteer to professional, and I'm helping the executive director build all kinds of systems and strategies. And I realized I've been telling her what to expect with her boss, who's by the way, I was on Wall Street just before I came here, so I know the Soul Cycle crowd. No, but I worked on Wall Street, so I was gonna say I
gotta talk to you. Like,
yeah, I was the studio manager of Soul Cycle Financial District.
Yeah, I used to go to I went to Swerve in the Flatiron. I lived in Manhattan right until December.
Oh, so man.
I totally know your crowd. I know that crowd. And there was a Soul Cycle around the corner for me on the Upper West Side. I didn't go to Soul Cycle. I was a flywheel girl, but whatever.
I interviewed Jenny Gaither on Uncrushed, if you guys are interested in watching that.
I'll watch that. Yeah. So one of the things that I've realized is that I keep helping her anticipate what this guy is going to say, because I've realized I've now worked with 5 founders, and founders have this thing called founder syndrome, and they start organizations and they're super excited about it. And then they're like, oh, I'm going to hire somebody else because I'm totally ready to let somebody else take over. No, they're not. You have to learn to manage up. And the first time I got off the phone with this woman, I was so nervous because I'm like, I know what I'm doing, but what if I don't know what I'm doing? And then she's telling me this stuff. I'm like, oh, I got the shit down. Let me tell you stories. And suddenly I feel like I'm 85 years old and I could tell you about the First World War and the Second World War, because no one ever threw tacos at me, but I've sat in board meetings where they'll basically oh, she didn't do anything, but they also gave me $500,000 that I couldn't raise because they were being ridiculous and, whatever. So you go through the trenches, and then all of a sudden you're in a place where you're like, actually now and that's the thing. But I was going to ask a question about, you mentioned posting on LinkedIn. So it's interesting that you mentioned tech, because not that I am not marrying to this, but I live in South Africa now. I just moved from New York City. My husband's from South Africa. I'm from New York. In my perfect 2021 world, because what the hell, everything is possible, I want to be 45 and splitting my time between 2 countries, not 65. I'm totally bought into this remote job thing. So I've been thinking about remote first jobs further along down the line, using everything that I learned now as a potential way to go should I choose to step off this consulting place. So I'm trying to get my LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram, where I'm active on all. And one thing I haven't done yet is I have not announced that I am acting as a consultant. I've gotten all of my jobs so far just mentioning it to friends, kind of practicing my elevator pitch, if you will. When should I guess the question is, when should I start posting on LinkedIn little ideas or little tips, or Facebook, or should I not be waiting? Should I just be this is what I'm doing?
Okay.
Do I wait, or do I do it now?
So first of all, I'm a huge fan of Africa. I spend a lot of time in Ghana. I don't know if you've ever been out that way, but
not yet.
This is my people in Ghana right here.
Nice.
Yeah. So huge fan of the continent. Fell in love with Africa right away. I'm going to tell you that you shouldn't announce it. And that sounds contrary to everything that you might think. Here's what you should do instead. You should start talking about problems that you're seeing, problems that you can solve, suggestions, tips, 1-minute videos, small, consumable. Occasionally you put out something that's over a minute. But here's what's going to happen. Every time you hit a high note for a potential person that's a prospect for you, they're going to engage when they see that. Everyone that likes, comments, shares, engages, and put this shit everywhere. Put it on Twitter, put it on Instagram, put it on Facebook, put it all over the place. Build your profiles out to resemble, to mirror that you are a consultant. But don't go out there and be like, you know what I'm seeing? I'm seeing this. Do you have this problem? Call me. Behold the power of OxyClean. That is not you.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
You don't want to be that person. I sell to salespeople. So when I give a tip out and I see business development directors and VPs and CEOs and senior level leadership engage, guess what? Those are all prospects for me. So I reach out and I connect. Thanks for the love on that post. What was it that stood out to you? Oh, I really liked how you said this. Oh yeah? Why did you like that? Do you have that problem? Oh, we see it from time to time. Hey man, let's connect and have a conversation. That is my discovery call. Y'all, I scheduled 70 meetings in July this way. I had a 38% close rate. Stop thinking that you have to announce everything. You are not a marketer. You are a business professional. That is not the same.
Right.
Marketing's job is to create passive engagement and income. People, us, human beings, we have a responsibility to connect with our prospects and deliver value. That's the focus. If you focus there, the money will come, the success will come. But if you're trying to advertise for yourself, you're self-aggrandizing, selfish, pig-headed, egotistical, and no one will engage with you. I promise. A lot of people out there talking about how awesome they are. I would love to compare bank accounts with these people.
Right.
Because I don't do that. And I'm busy all day, every day with prospects. When I reach out to somebody that I delivered value like this to, and I say, hey man, here's all the training that I provide, and I would love to see you on it. I'd love to see you get certified, and I'm going to give you 10% off. 38% are like, hell yeah, let's do it. I don't have that problem, and it's because I don't care if you buy it. I really want your business. Don't misunderstand me, but I don't need it. So I'm going to say this to you, and it's going to change your perspective yet again, even though lots of perspectives have probably been shifted on this call. It is not our job as sales. This is John Barrows said this to me, and it changed my life. It is not our job to convince people that they need what we have. It's our job to sell what we have to people that need it. That's not the same at all.
Can you repeat that?
Because,
can you say it again?
Yeah. It's not our job to convince people that they need what we have. It's our job to sell what we have to people that need it. Which means we have to connect and converse to build a relationship to find out if you need it before we can sell it. Before a product or service or solution or consultancy, before anything is sold, you are the value. You. They're connecting with you for one reason or another. And it doesn't matter the reason. So put the content out there, but don't be like, I'm your person, hire me, I am amazing. Now, if you're looking for a job, that's totally different. It's a completely different vibe, right? But if you're trying to provide value in the form of a consultancy or hours or a product, man, just talking about what you're seeing out there and making suggestions, simple suggestion. Hey, try this. Here's something that happened to me. I did this and it worked. I did this and it didn't, right? Own the fail. So many, let me put some numbers out there for you. Just so we're talking about content here. What we're talking about with content is we're talking about personal branding essentially, right? And how they tie together. 6 billion people signed in to LinkedIn last year. 6 billion. 1% creates content consistently. 1%. You want to be part of that 1%. Because you can't lose anything, but you can gain so much. So you put a post out there, it doesn't do well. That's all right. Maybe the next one will. Say your second one does really well. Wonderful. Nothing pleases me more than coming in and seeing a post I put out yesterday where people are like, damn, this is good. Hey, I never thought of it this way. James, what you're saying here makes so much sense. Just today, I'll share my screen again. I do what I do because I do it. Right? So here it is, right? This guy hit me today. Right here. Thank you. I have to give you props because you helped me get out of a horrible slump. I've been the #1 SDR for 2 months in a row and won a company-wide prospecting competition and hit quarterly goals. Right? I got that this morning at 9:57 a.m. I get those all day, every day. And you know what? They're worth more to me than any dollar amount you can attach to it. But because that's what I go for, the dollars come. I hope this has been impactful for you guys.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. This is awesome.
Definitely.
And it's bigger than just brand. And I mean, James, I know you know this, like, it's not all about necessarily the company that you're working for or even your consultancy. It's really you, right? And that's what gives you the control over your own brand. So regardless of where you go, you always have that trust built in, right?
That's right. Your brand represents you, not your company, not your service, not your value. You can point that brand at anything you want. Great example. I use a hashtag hip hop in sales, right? This is all in my training. Feel free. You'll check it out when you guys get in there. But hip hop was always a huge influence on my life since the 80s, right? I went through all the old school Will Smith, Naughty by Nature hip hop when people were saying shit like, oh, they're so negative and all I hear about is guns and drugs and violence. Like, that's the stuff people were saying then. That's not what I was hearing. What I was hearing was all of the success that came despite all the obstacles that were put in front of these people. That's what I was hearing. So I started quoting these rappers, and I still am diehard hip hop fan, right? So I still quote the rappers. Let me just tell you, other people have started using hip hop in sales, and it's become this trend that I'm seeing all over social media across networks. That's a brand win. Anybody that's in that realm sees my content, hears me speak, sees my videos, reaches out to me and says, James, you changed my life. Thank you so much. That guy will forever be a customer of mine. No matter where he goes in his career, he's going to think that guy's valuable to me. That's the point of building a brand. It's the long game. It's one step closer to that entrepreneurship role that you've been thinking about for the last 5 years. It's that idea that, hey, these people on Instagram and TikTok, these are the decision makers of tomorrow. If I'm a resource for them now, I will be a resource for them later when they're decision makers. It's the investment in yourself. So every time you think to yourself, I just don't have time to build my brand, know this. I spent the first 3 years creating Saywhatsales by holding my phone in front of my face for 1 minute every day. That is literally the way I built the brand. And now I work for John Barrows, and he's going to have to fire me.
Yeah, it takes
questions,
time.
Comments, the Deep Blue Sea.
Thank you. Your energy is awesome, and this has been like a really good shot in the arm right in the middle of the week, and I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Hytham, thank you for having me.
Yeah,
thanks so much, man.
Thank you for talking to us and sharing your knowledge and your like passion. I have to like take that in and make sure I bring it with me next week on Monday when I start.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Always learning. We're going to send you the video. You're going to watch it, right? And we're going to hold you guys accountable.
Wonderful.
Awesome. So thank you guys for jumping in. James, thanks again. You were amazing. Yeah. I will shoot the videos out to you guys as soon as they're ready, and have a great day.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you, everybody. Take care.